My trailer opens conventionally with the age certificate. This is done so audiences know what they are about to watch and whether it is suitable for the audience they are with, for example, children. This relates to the uses and gratifications at the very start of my trailer I have informed the audience as to what they will be watching, which is one of the reasons why the audiences consume texts. My trailer then moves to addressing the production companies that have worked on the film. The company logos flash up right after the age certificate. This is a main convention in nearly every trailer in order to get the studios recognised for their work. All of these shots last about 4 seconds, which is the main convention of most others. My trailer then moves to a series of quick shots for some of the most frightening parts of the film in order to intrigue audiences into watching the rest of the trailer, while creating an enigma as to what the film is actually about. This is a convention of horror trailers, as horror is the only genre that most commonly features jump scares. I used the 2010 Insidious trailer as inspiration as to see how they went about creating the shots for jump scares. The trailer Insidious uses pop-ups of its villain right at the start of the trailer in order to have the same effect as I wanted to create in my trailer. The shots were close-ups in order to show the villain and the audience. Therefore, I picked the scene where Ava is holding the heart dripping with blood. However, I made the frame tighter in order to not reveal the entire shot. I also included the scene where Ava is screaming with blood stains and a dirted face. From the start, it can be seen already
from
in the first shots that the female is a victim, as she is seen in pain from a high angle. As named, my trailer does follow the character called Ava. This can be seen to relate to the Laura Mulvey theory, the male gaze, as the woman is seen as the victim. This was a challenge for me, as this is not what I intended to achieve for Ava, as if it was going to be made into a film, you would see that she is only a victim until she killed her abuser. The challenge I faced was trying to avoid the female victim approach without giving too much of the story away. In order to try and counteract this problem, I did cut a lot of the shots where she can be seen as objectified, and only kept the ones in that I definitely needed in to show the narrative. I replaced these shots with a lot of mid shots and even layered some videos over these shots showing a male to be the victim. This then helped to develop the story as it gives me an entrance into introducing the male character. Inspiration from trailers such as Gone Girl, Sleeping with the Enemy and Annabelle. I looked at these trailers specifically because I feel the plotline relates to my own quite well. This allowed me to take inspiration from shots that I was trying to include in the first place. For example, I took inspiration from the Gone Girl shot where the man is shown to be pushing his wife to the ground. However, because the age certificate is done by law, I had to take into account this scene and make my film appropriate for a 15. I then adapted this by filming the scenes of the silhouettes arguing at each other. I did have a challenge at this point, as I had to tone the scene down from Gone Girl, as the amount of physical violence used would not be suitable for my film, as its certificate is a 15 whereas Gone Girl is an 18, which is a limit that I think will restrict the audiences. Todorow's narrative theory explains the way I have decided to lay out my trailer. Aside from the gore starts at the start, the rest of my trailer does follow conventions. I have portrayed this as I have started the official length shots within the trailer with a sunlit filled scene with classical music to present a happy atmosphere and equilibrium. However, this atmosphere then changes as the piano music increases its speed and pitch, in which it is played over the silhouette's argument scene, which resembles a disruption. Once the shots with the hearts and blood start to come in throughout my trailer, the realization starts. However, because this is only a trailer, I have stopped at this point in the 5 stages of narrative. This should hopefully create an enigma with the audience, leaving them to guess what will happen in the rest of the film. Some trailers show little clips of a happy ending in the trailer. However, I have not included this because I feel a horror does not really have a big finish, therefore including clips would not be giving too much away. However, I have challenged conventions as I have repeated stage 2, the disruption stage of Todorow's narrative theory, at the beginning in order to intrigue the audience into watching the rest of the trailer and eventually the film. A big thing that has to be considered when making a horror trailer is the effects that it will have on others. My trailer, as said previously, does have an age rating of a 15, however this does not necessarily stop people younger than that from watching it, as once they have it on DVD it is merely a suggestion or advisory. The effects model is a theory that looks into how the media affects society. The shots of the blood and gore that I have included in my trailer are quite unrealistic, therefore you would not think to try these violent actions. However, if my trailer was watched by someone under the age of 15, they might think that this is okay and this is the right way to behave. The scenes showing the silhouettes arguing and screaming at each other might have an effect on the younger audiences, as they might think that it is normal to fight like that with your partner and start to show signs of aggression. Typically in horror films, the male is normally the villain, like in The House at the End of the Street or Nightmare on Elm Street. However, in my film, Ava is actually the one who is the villain, and is only seen to be tortured because of the murder she committed in the past. This breaks conventions of Vladimir Prop's theory, as my character Ava is now the victim of her own crimes. I stayed with the conventions of filming in typical horror locations, such as my house and in a sort of wooded area, as I want to draw on the connotations of Ava to be isolated, defenceless and helpless, just as someone who is shown to be the victim would be. I looked into filming in different locations like a school and a library, however I did not feel these locations fitted with the kind of look I was going for. The only location that I have used that is not typically seen in a horror genre is a lake with the sun in the distance, as this does not represent a threatening nature. This can look out of place, however I have included it to show a contrast between the gore and blood shots shown later. In order to start preparing to make my poster, I had to look into the conventions of main film posters. I did this by looking at posters for a film called Regression. This is a psychological horror which I looked at because within the posters there are a lot of hidden features that suggest little clues as to what the film is about. Within these posters they use subtle hints like the cracks in the wood of the barn with the light shone through it to create the shape of an upside down cross, which is most commonly seen in satanic rituals. Therefore we can guess from this that the film has a supernatural element. My poster I then started to create hints about what Ava is about. The hint that I have in my trailer is the colour change of the water in the eyes. I have changed these to a red shade, as red is normally associated with blood and love, which are two common factors within my trailer. I did this to give the audiences hints, as there is something supernatural within my film, and the eyes have changed colour like a demon's would. This is most commonly seen within supernatural creatures like demons, therefore it could be hinted that to the audience that Ava is a demon or she has demon connections. I also have changed the colour of the water to red because in the film Ava does kill her boyfriend, as you see within the first couple shots of my trailer. I've changed the water to red in order to symbolise a sort of bloodbath. This can tell the audience that this film is a horror and that this film does have the blood and gore as a main convention, like horrors do. Before I changed the colours and made these hints, my poster did look too much like a drama. I did originally have the challenge that my poster was drifting too far away, therefore I had to develop my idea in order to bring in more features of a horror into it. I also, when I was researching, found the conventional layout for a movie poster included the characters and the locations. This is seen in the Regression posters and Annabelle's posters. One challenge that I did occur when creating my poster was that I only really had one main character, therefore it was only fitting that I had her on my poster. This differs from posters that I have looked at because they all feature more than one character or a load of different unique objects to the film. Having that much of an extreme close-up with the eyes worked in my poster and with the other images, but is not commonly featured on main film posters. Therefore I challenged conventions of this extreme close-up. The layout I have finished with had the extreme close-up worked into the shot of Ava standing by the lake, which is one of the key first shots in my trailer. The eyes worked well in the sky. This can give the audience to a hidden thought that someone is always watching them. I wanted to avoid using the stereotypical black background because my trailer does not have many dark moments, therefore I feel it did not fit the style of my promotional package for my film Ava. When editing the images, something that I did change was the contrast of them, I did this to enhance the shadows, however balanced this out by using the highlights. This added a very monotone look to the pictures on my poster and made all the tones the same colour. This is not something that is done much on the regression posters, however it is done on the Annabelle poster. As I had looked at Gone Girl previously, I decided to look up its promotional package. I looked at Gone Girl because I feel it had a similar balance of romance and horror to my own trailer. Therefore, I looked at its promotional package for the film and analysed the cover for Empire. The image is the main focal point of any magazine, as this is where the eye is drawn to and immediately alerts you as to what film is being advertised. This can be told through the newest issue, where you can see actors Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. on the cover of its latest issue promoting Civil War. On the Gone Girl issue, they had a shot of Rosamund Pike lying and staring blank and lifeless on what looks like a post-mortem table, while her co-star Ben Affleck is wrapped around her while closing his eyes as he looks as though he is unaware as to what's happening. From this small analysis, you can see that the image on the front cover can give you little hints about the film and the plot. So I followed this convention and put little hints in mine that can be deduced and tell you about the story. Within the magazine, I have used a photograph shot from my trailer where you can see the main character Ava has a blood-stained face. People do not usually cry blood. This is seen as a common feature of a supernatural film. Therefore, it can be deduced that the supernatural element is running throughout my film. The black stains draining from her eyes resemble mascara stains, so the audiences may be able to infer that the girl, the face of the promotional package, is in trouble or in danger. However, looking more at the conventions of a magazine front cover, the images are often simple and not as complex as the Gone Girl issue. For example, I looked at many other magazines and it was mainly a mid-shot of the main character standing in the centre, covering the P of the Empire. One example when Empire does this is with its Superman issue. This layout works for films like Superman, as the outfit is one of the main features and will instantly alert the audience to what the film is. A challenge that I came to when choosing what image to make my focal point of my magazine. Within my trailer, everything that really happens to Ava's is to her face. However, the rest of her body is quite plain and common. Therefore, I feel I would make my magazine look boring and unrelated to the other products for Ava. Therefore, I overcame this challenge and opted for a close-up of Ava's face. When editing my images into the layout of my magazine, I knew that I wanted the edges of the image to fade to black to portray a darkened atmosphere within the filming. Also, I wanted to keep a house style with the rest of my promotional package. This meant that it was hard for me to wrap the text around the image, so I took inspiration from the Sherlock Holmes edition from Empire, and I used conventional article headings with brief descriptions pinned to the side of the magazine front cover, in order to make the magazine not look crowded and messy like it was in drafts 1 and 2. As said previously, my layout of my magazine was taken from the Empire's Gone Girl issue. I picked this layout because I felt in a way it broke conventions, as it did not look like a lot of other magazines that Empire had produced. It displayed movies of their movie posters and not just the titles of the articles wrapped around the main image. However, I did decide to change some elements, like what was on the bubble on the front cover. When creating the bubble, like in Empires, I felt the image and text did not fit well with the path that my magazine was taking, as it started to look quite crowded and messy. I was then challenged as I did not know the best way to fix this problem. Therefore, I did some further research into Empire's front covers and found the Hobbit Unexpected Journey cover. On this cover, it just had text in its bubble, so I tried this on mine and it did leave a lot more room and made my magazine look more spaced out. I also changed conventions, as I decided to not have the winter preview banner on my front cover, as I felt it overpowered the title and drew people's attention away from the main focal point, which is the image. This worked on the Gone Girl edition because the image is overlapped on the Empire logo, As my image does not do this, everything really looked really compact, which is something I did not really want to achieve on my magazine front cover. I did pick quite a busy cover to take inspiration from, however, deleting the features I did not think worked well on my front cover was the right decision. However, if I was to do my magazine again, I would think about the film reel at the bottom and whether it can be resized and repositioned, as I am not happy with the way that the title Ava overlaps the main image.